Okay, people are still kind of joining us, but we will go ahead and get started because I know we have a lot of information tonight. So hello all, my name is Mimi Mudd, and I want to welcome you all to the last webinar of the Fall 2024 Family Webinar Series. I'm the Assistant Director for Parent and Family Programs and Student Transitions and Family Programs. And tonight I'm joined by my colleagues. As you'll see, we have a few of them tonight: Sarah Stratton, Melanie Osborne, Amy Sulzer, and Courtney Couchard. And they're representing study abroad programs from their respective academic divisions. We're excited that you've chosen to join us for tonight's conversation about study abroad. And as always, we have some information before we get started. So first, we want to make sure you know how to submit questions during the Q&A portion of the evening. So as you'll notice, you have a Q&A feature through Zoom, and that is how you can submit your questions. And we will have staff from Student Transitions and Family Programs help field those questions. So feel free to submit them throughout their presentation this evening as questions pop up. To make sure you know how to use the Q&A feature, please share the city from which you are joining us tonight, and then we will name a few of those on air in just a little bit. Second, we'll be showing a PowerPoint tonight created by our panelists. However, if you prefer to download the PowerPoint to be able to follow along on your own, we will have a link to the PowerPoint shared in the chat so you all can do that. Additionally, in the chat, we'll be sharing links throughout tonight's presentation as well. And then third, this webinar is being recorded live. Next week, it will be uploaded to our families.washu.edu website. In a moment, you'll hear from our panelists about study abroad. So first, we'll be hearing from Amy, who will provide a general overview of study abroad programs at WashU, followed by specific information for arts and sciences. Then Sarah will discuss Olin School of Business programs, followed by Melanie, who will share about McKelvey School of Engineering. And then Courtney will finish things up with an overview of Sam Fox programs. And then again, if something the panelists share pops, a question in your mind, please feel free to submit that in the Q&A feature. All right, so tonight we have families tuning in from Shaker Heights, St. Louis, Chicago suburbs, and New York. Now, since I know you all want to hear more about study abroad, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to Amy.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody. We are really glad that you came to talk with us about our favorite topic. Study abroad is something near and dear to all of our hearts, and so we're really appreciative of families that support that for their students. Mimi, if you want to go ahead and advance the slides, please. There we go. So I wanted to start us out with some things that are common to all of the schools and everybody who is going to speak with you tonight. We really like students to start their program choice in almost a non-intuitive way for a lot of them. We'd like them to think a little bit about what they want to study rather than where, because very often the academic area that you're choosing really should drive your decision making rather than a geographical preference. Another thing that is common across all of the schools is that the cost of study abroad is going to vary by location and term. All semester program prices are going to be pegged to Washington University tuition for a semester program. So as a family, you can plan that if your student studies abroad, their tuition cost is going to be exactly the same as it would be if they were on campus. And any financial aid that they might receive, scholarships they might receive to attend WashU, will travel with them for a semester study abroad. Summer programs are a little bit different. They're priced differently, and they're priced differently by school. Aid does not necessarily apply to summer study abroad programs. There are some situations where it can, there are others where it cannot. But WashU and external scholarships may be available to support your student if the summer term is what they choose. Okay, maybe we can move forward. Another thing that's common across all of the schools is that we really emphasize the fact that study abroad should be tied to the student's academic program. This is intended to complement their on-campus studies. It's intended to build on a foundation that they already have. So it shouldn't be viewed as just a set aside or an extra thing. We really want it to be incorporated. And in the spirit of that, we want to make sure that it is helping students meet their graduation requirements. Study abroad programs, certainly in my division, and I think across the divisions, can help students certainly in terms of satisfying major requirements, minor requirements, distribution requirements, and other requirements that are specific to the school, as well as providing credit that is useful towards graduation in generally. And most of our semester-long programs are going to require roughly the same amount of credit that a student would be taking if they were on campus. So they shouldn't inherently fall behind pace by choosing to study abroad. Okay. Next slide. Thanks. So to make this easy for everybody, since we know that students often have interests in multiple schools and multiple areas of interest, we really try to centralize information about study abroad in one easy, useful platform. So there is a single global opportunities website, sa.woostel.edu, that you can go to, your student can go to, and they will find information for each of the different schools, as well as tabs for scholarships, among other things. So one-stop shopping for that particular website, and that will take you anywhere you and your student wants to go. Okay. So as Mimi mentioned, I represent the College of Arts and Sciences, and I am the director of the Office of Overseas Programs. In arts and sciences, just because of the breadth of disciplines that arts and sciences encompasses, we have a lot of programs. We have more than 100 of them between semester and summer. We cover a very, very broad spectrum geographically with over 50 countries represented. And we try and offer opportunities of all durations for our students so they can choose what works best for them, whether that is a single semester, multiple semesters, or a summer program. In arts and sciences, our estimate is that roughly 40% of our students choose to study abroad. Many of them choose to study abroad more than once. They might choose to do a summer program early in their career, followed by a semester program later. They might choose to do an ampersand program or other first-year experience that involves travel early on, and then a semester later. So those numbers can be a little bit squishy, but 40% is about right for arts and sciences. And I think that you'll hear multiple of us talk about the reasons to study abroad. We really think that getting a global perspective and the experience of study abroad enhances what you're learning on campus. In arts and sciences, individual academic departments approve specific programs for students in their major because of what that program can offer in terms of their development in the major. But we also have quite a few programs that have experiential learning components, which in addition to the academic learning can really enhance and change the way the student views their topic. So whether that is through an internship abroad, whether that is through a program that really incorporates community engagement or volunteering, or whether that's a program that's really built on research, experiential education above and beyond simply the experience of going abroad is incorporated in many of our programs. We find that our students often say after they've returned from study abroad that among the most valuable takeaways for them from that experience was the personal and professional growth that they experienced. I think that students have to be agents for themselves. They develop a lot of self-advocacy skills and agency. They develop obviously cultural competencies, whether that is through engagement with different course material, engagement with a different educational system, engagement with their international peers, and often language skills if they're on a program that supports that. And clearly, if they're going into a system that is not their own and a culture that is not their own, they really exercise some adaptability muscles. And those are things that they definitely bring back with them into their senior year and well beyond into life. So there's that personal growth, professional growth that comes out of these experiences that would be really hard to replicate without them. So there are certain requirements for study abroad, obviously, and this is probably the list of the top 5 that parents and students need to be aware of. So as I had mentioned before, in arts and sciences, we really emphasize the fact that study abroad should be connected with a major or minor, particularly if it is a semester-long program. But that can expand a little bit into things like pre-med, which is not a major or minor, but it is certainly an area of significant concentration for a student who's following it. Obviously, a student is going to need to satisfy any program-specific requirements, whether those are foreign language prerequisites, specific areas of study, or course prerequisites. They need to be enrolled at WashU in the semester prior to study abroad, because all of our divisions have robust pre-departure courses that are taught in the semester immediately prior to study abroad that are important for a student's preparation. Students need to be in good standing with the WashU community. And in most cases, they need to have a minimum GPA of 3.0. Occasionally, there is a program with a higher GPA requirement, but 3.0 is pretty standard across most of our opportunities. And there's a lot of flexibility, particularly in my division, but I think again across the board, in when to study abroad. If a student is interested in a summer program, they can do it as soon as the summer after their first year of study with us, or they could do it later in their career, particularly if they think that summer study abroad is going to be their primary study abroad opportunity. For the semester, I think we really hope that a student will be flexible enough to allow their curriculum and personal path to determine when they go abroad. It's certainly most common in junior year, but we do have students in arts and sciences who choose to study abroad either in the spring semester of sophomore year or either of their senior semesters. It just depends on, again, what their academic needs and personal path is. There are a lot of ways to get more information. Certainly overseas programs advisors, my colleagues and I in the Office of Overseas Programs, we are the study abroad people. We have our portfolio of programs that we get to know well. And so we are certainly happy to talk to students about the intricacies of a specific program, special considerations that they need to have in mind. We also have 3 fabulous peer advisors. These are students who recently studied abroad themselves. They're paid workers in our office. They have been trained in advising as well as assisting with a lot of our day-to-day tasks. And they can be terrific resources for students, whether they're talking about their own experience studying abroad or providing just sort of general groundwork information. Every academic department in arts and sciences has a designated departmental study abroad advisor. So these are the folks in the academic departments who are the content specialists. They will be able to provide really clear and concise information for students about how study abroad coursework can help them in their progress to completing a major or minor. If there are specific programs that have worked really well for their students that they'd like to recommend, etc. So they are yet another resource and people that students will be connected to. And then finally, we have a very enthusiastic group of returned study abroad students who are our study abroad ambassadors. These students have all had important experiences of their own. They're anxious to share with their peers. And so they have volunteered to participate in different activities that we offer, different pre-departure programming, different outreach activities, but also their information is published on the website. So if a student has a question about a very specific program, they can look and see if there's a study abroad ambassador who they can connect with and speak to. Okay, thanks very much for your time. Handing it off to Sarah Stratton.
All right, thank you so much, Amy. And as Amy said, we're very happy to be here with you tonight to share more about how your students can be involved in global programs while they're at WashU. So I work with Olin Global Programs in Olin Business School. And like Amy said, we do have a lot of areas in which we all overlap. So some of this information might be a little repetitive, but it just shows you how much we do value some of these key takeaways from an experience abroad. So some of the things that we talk to students about is, why they should go abroad. Not only does it help you become equipped to understand and adapt in an interdependent world, but also it adds value to your BSBA or business degree. It also helps fulfill a part of the BSBA degree, which is the global mindset requirement. So with the class of 2025 and on, all incoming students are required to fulfill a global mindset requirement, doing an abroad program either through us in Olin or through any of our other partner schools, help students satisfy that requirement. It also provides students with talking points for behavioral interviews because they're able to gain a lot of those unspoken skills while they are abroad. They're able to share more about how they took a leadership position, how they faced ambiguity, how they were able to adapt and be flexible in a multicultural experience. And so we really feel like this not only sets students up for just, a great opportunity to learn more about the world, but a great opportunity to learn more about themselves and sell themselves for those behavioral interviews, for those jobs in the future. But we also understand the main reason students are wanting to go abroad is to explore the world, have fun, and meet new people. And we definitely want students to do that, and they for sure do that while they are abroad as well. As the business school, it is important for us to also share what employers say and what they see with students who have an abroad experience. 73% of employers cite abroad as important while evaluating resumes. The top traits that are often gained from a semester abroad are also top traits that employers are looking for. And then also it really does help set students apart from other applicants who have a similar background in business and have taken similar courses, because currently only about 1 in 10 students in the US do a study abroad program. So this is already going to help set you apart from peers, from peer institutions when you're applying for those entry level or jobs right out of college or those internships. There are definitely some myths around and perceived barriers around study abroad. And so we want to just make sure that students and families understand that they are myths for a reason. So one was that it's too expensive. As Amy shared, every semester abroad program is going to be the same as WashU tuition, meaning any financial aid or scholarship that the student is receiving will continue to travel with the student. So hopefully not much changes there. We also offer different scholarships within our office, and there are scholarships, external scholarships that students can apply for any of those semester programs that might include a program fee that's not covered by financial aid. Another one is that it will delay graduation. What's really nice about the business school is that the Olin Global Programs is located within the academic advising area as well, the undergraduate program office. And so all of the advisors, academic advisors, also know some about study abroad, and they're able to talk to students early and often about what their expectations are or what their hopes are for having a global experience, so that we're really able to help them plan out what makes the most sense for them to be able to go abroad and still graduate on time. We also work with students and with our host institutions to have coursework evaluated prior to students going abroad so that they know what they're going to get credit for upon return from their semester abroad. A common thing is students are saying they don't speak a foreign language. Luckily for us, the business school, most of our programs are with institutions that offer courses in English. We only have one program currently that has a language requirement. And then students obviously are wanting to have a summer internship. They want to get that work experience. And that's why we partner with universities and programs that will end by June 1st, which is when a lot of internships will start. We also offer short-term programs during the month of May after the semester ends, but before June 1st, that can be as short as 10 days, as well as we have a really popular program over the winter break between finals in the fall and the start of the January term, which is about 2 weeks. And so students are able to also go abroad during that time and gain some valuable credit or life lessons while they're abroad. And then just to give you an idea of where our students are going abroad, you can see our study abroad semester programs are located, pretty much all over the world. And then we also have semester length internship programs, which is a really unique experience where students can take coursework for about the first 5 to 8 weeks of the semester. So they're still getting about 12 to 15 credits for the semester, but then the remainder of the semester, they're doing an internship globally. So they're working with a company in London, or they're working with a startup in Singapore. They're gaining that hands-on real-world experience that they can then use as they're going for other internships and other jobs. And then we also have short-term programs. So there's a number of short-term programs that we run through our office, but we also have a lot of programs with our partner institutions that run summer schools. So there are a lot of opportunities for students to go all over the world, any session that they're most interested in. And then just to top things off, for the class of 2025, we are looking at about 73% of our students having a study abroad experience when they graduate. So it is really a part of the culture at Olin, and something that our students really look forward to during their time here. And I will pass it off to my colleague, Melanie.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. My name is Melanie Osborne, and I work in McKelvey Engineering. I am the third person to speak, and my first two colleagues have really covered all the great reasons that students go abroad. Those are the same for engineering, the same sort of considerations, looking at academics, what really moves you ahead in your engineering degree, and a little bit of where's that really great place you'd like to do some studying. So all the same reasons, two students who look the same on paper. That one student who's been abroad has life skills that the other student doesn't have. So all those things are the same. We work together frequently. We have students with an engineering student has a second major in Olin, here has a second major in usually arts and sciences, sometimes in Sam Fox. And we work together to make sure students are receiving the credit that they need for all their different major and minor programs. So I have jumped straight to the list of McKelvey locations. A student in any major in McKelvey Engineering can go abroad. They just may not be able to go abroad to all these locations. So you'll see that some of the locations are very specific for a degree program. If it says CSE, that is really any computer science affiliated degree. So that's computer science and math, computer science and econ, computer engineering, and data science. And then many of the other locations are easier for students in specific majors. We also have a database that lists the courses that are pre-approved. And so it's very important that a student meet with one of the study abroad advisors in engineering undergraduate student services to work out what locations work best for them. And we too are all academic advisors. the three of us who do study abroad, so we have a good understanding of what students need for their major programs. And all instruction is in English. We have one location where, IES Madrid, where a student will have to take a Spanish course, Spanish language course. So next slide, please. We also say that summer is a great option. Engineering courses are particularly sequential and unfortunately are offered one time a year in some cases. So if a student feels like they, for whatever reason, their schedule doesn't allow them to go abroad, we do encourage students to look at summer as a great option. Engineering students have to take humanities and social science credit. Many of them are interested in language. A couple of our departments have summer study that gets them credit for their major. Engineering and energy, environmental, and chemical engineering has a program, and biomedical engineering has had a trial program, and they're repeating it this summer. So students can get credit for BME as well. We have a special program in engineering for students after first year, or any student who needs to take differential equations, and that is our Summer in London program. We view that as kind of an appetizer for study abroad. We, this past summer, we sent 24 students to London, and they took differential equations in the morning, and they were free all afternoon and evening to explore London for 4 weeks. The students really enjoyed the program, and we will be repeating that this year. We also have an affiliation with John Cabot University in Rome, and there are engineering courses there if a student wants to get ahead in their engineering curriculum. Next slide. So these are the nuts and bolts for engineering. These are in many ways the same for everyone, which is meet with us and talk to someone. Don't just apply without speaking to anyone and figuring out what you really need to do. So coursework for engineering courses need to be pre-approved through our office. That's where our database comes in, and we can also look at classes that aren't in the database, because other universities add and remove classes just like our university does. So we can look at those courses, work with the department for approval. We can't guarantee everything will be approved, but a student will know before they go abroad what credit they're going to get. Students studying abroad through McKelvey must meet with one of us at least twice. The first meeting, we want to have them understand the basic information. And then the second time, they are meeting with us to form their study plan abroad. Most students meet with us or email us many, many times, and we are perfectly pleased to meet with them. We want to make sure everyone gets the information that they need. So the process here, again, meet with us, finalize those courses. You apply through overseas programs. We're all applying through that lovely overseas programs portal. And then students often get confused on this point. For engineering, almost always there's a second application. So, and that's with the provider abroad. So students need to be applying in 2 different, we'll call it portals abroad. And students do need to take the Study Abroad 101 class. And now it's time for Sam Fox.
Last but not least, hi everyone, I'm Courtney Couchard. I am the Special Programs Manager at Sam Fox School. I am representing the majors in architecture and art. And so that is students either pursuing a BS or a BA in architecture, or a BFA or BA in art. Students can also second major at the Sam Fox School and minor at the Sam Fox School. So I'll talk about the opportunities for everybody. Next. So we're the smallest school at Washington University, and we have one flagship program that we have that we are very consistent and very detailed with in Florence, Italy. And so why Florence? Of course, it's the home to the Renaissance. It's also a contemporary city where lots of artisans and designers and artists are still practicing. And so we find that it really dovetails nicely so that students can get the most of the sort of Western canon experience, and then also immerse into contemporary Italian design and art. So our programs, like everybody else has said, make sure that each student has the opportunity to study abroad. Of course, study abroad is not a requirement. We've told you, my colleagues have told you all the benefits of it. But our programs are all designed to keep students on track for graduation, enriching their experience here as a student and as a person in the world, in this global place that we're all living. And so we have both summer and semester programs for students to offer like optimum flexibility in their time here at WashU. Next. So in our semester program, it's open to all of the majors at the Sam Fox School and second majors. In our program, our chairs and directors have looked really closely at our curriculum, which is also sequential most of the time, and determined the best time for students to study abroad. So your major here determines your semester abroad that you're eligible to go. So it's listed here on the slide. If you're majoring in ComDes, you're going in your spring of junior year. Architecture students are going in the fall of their senior year. And then if you're in studio art or fashion design, you're going in the fall of your junior year. This has worked out really nicely for us. We like having a sort of smaller cohort in Florence. Otherwise, our activities, our workshops, our really hands-on field trips can feel a little overwhelming or impersonal when that group gets too large. So for us, it works really nicely to have these sorts of separations between the different sort of majors and class sizes. We can go to the next slide. Our program in Florence, it takes great advantage of that city, of course, and all of its cultural resources, but we also include excursions, as many other study abroad programs do, to nearby Italian cities, including Rome, Venice, Milan, Arezzo, Prato, and other destinations. So those are unique each semester. Of course, we repeat some of those locations, but it's based a lot on the current activities in those cities, the Venice Biennale, the Jubilee in Rome, which is next year, other things like that going on, so that students can participate in those really important cultural activities related to art and design directly with their major. Their faculty gets involved in planning those trips to make sure that they see the really important cultural sites that Italy has to offer. And as all of my other colleagues have said, and I will reiterate, during the semester, it's so nice because any financial aid or scholarship that the student has on campus, they have it the same way when they're abroad. Next slide. So the summer program is very similar and parallel. It's almost just condensed into 2 months and sort of like a more intensive time abroad. And it's really great for students that have double majors or a lot of minors or even one minor, students that play sports or other things like that that can't be away for a whole semester. The summer program is there to offer them the most flexibility so they can still have that experience. In the summer, our faculty go to Florence and teach, and they offer an intensive studio either in architecture or in art that again counts toward their degree. Tuition is discounted during the summer, and then students have to apply for additional financial aid or support through various scholarships and other things. Yeah, next slide. So this is like an intensive 2-month experience. Melanie was talking about the differential equations course, which sounds really lovely and almost sort of relaxing, right? Like half and half time. I would love to say the same for our summer program, but students here earn 10 credits, which is almost a full semester of credits in 2 months. So it's a really incredible chance for students to like advance their credits and make more space on campus to do other things related to their other majors when they come back. So it is an intensive 2-month experience, lots of trips, lots of class, but you get to build a really great cohort. You see a lot of beautiful and very nice weather sort of opportunities in the summer to visit all the nice cities in Italy. Next. Okay, and so because we offer just our Florence program and we know that our majors, some of them, especially the BAs, allow students more flexibility, especially in their senior year. Our students can do any of the other programs that Amy, Sarah, and Melanie talked about related to their other majors or minors. So all that takes is to do a little bit of research to find out what study abroad programs are, represented or available to them with their majors or minors, applying through those portals, making sure the credits transfer back. Students can explore all of those opportunities and also some of the rules we have around doing those other programs by making a meeting with me, chatting about it. It's also all on our website. So I'll sometimes direct students there first. They'll do a little reading and then they'll come chat with me about their details. So I love meeting with students and talking about all of their interests. I studied abroad a lot as a student, and I'm eager to help anyone sort of make their study abroad dreams happen. That's my last slide. Thanks again to all my colleagues for doing the great lead in to all of this and sharing all of your awesome information, and to Mimi for putting this all together for us. And I know we're all excited to take your questions.
Great. Thank you, panelists, so much for all that information. I know I have a question that lots of parents and family members are probably wondering, so I'll kind of kick off the Q&A portion with that. So if their student wants to study abroad, when should they be reaching out to your offices?
Sooner the better is usually the answer. So our study abroad application deadlines are standardized across arts and sciences, engineering, and Olin. We all work on the same timeline. If a student is interested in studying abroad for an academic semester, all of our application deadlines are in the spring. Fall deadline is February 1st. Spring deadline is May 1st. And ideally, a student would be starting the planning process 3-4 more months ahead of those application deadlines, just to make sure that they've explored their options, they understand how it's going to work with their curriculum, they're selecting the courses for other semesters to accommodate that semester abroad, talking with all their relevant advisors. Courtney, do you want to speak to your timeline?
Yes, I will. For the semester programs, the general rule of thumb is that all students apply in their sophomore year. Even the seniors in architecture that go abroad in senior year, everybody applies in sophomore year because it does take some academic course planning to make sure that study abroad happens and that your other course and degree requirements get fulfilled around that. So I do a really great job with our community here of reaching out by email and holding info sessions. I think a lot of our other schools do that as well. We have robust communications to make sure students don't miss their opportunity to apply. So I probably send a few too many annoying emails to the students to make sure they know, hey, your deadline's coming up. So I start reaching out as soon as they get here in their first week as a student at WashU. I participate in orientation as well. And then we have a study abroad fair every year too. When is that? Is that in March? I can't remember. But we do have a study abroad fair for the general undergraduate population. So everyone can come in and talk to all of us about the programs that are available to them.
Okay. Next question has to do with if students are studying abroad for a semester rather than during the summer, what is the housing option for them? Are they able to live here in St. Louis? Are they able to live in WashU housing during the semester in which they're in St. Louis?
Yeah, in general, Res Life is really great at accommodating students. They know that students often do a study abroad program. So I believe that either on the Res Life website or just by contacting the Res Life office, students can put into motion the plan to live on campus for the semester that they're here and opt out of that housing in the semester that they're going to be abroad. It's very typical. Res Life is really used to accommodating that. So I think it just goes through their office.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, that is really what we would recommend, I would say, at least from our stance in the business school. If a student decides to live off campus before they go abroad, then they're going to be held accountable for finding a sublease and, making sure that they get someone in there to cover any rents that they might need. So we really do recommend that students look at living on campus the semester before or the semester, I guess, after they return from being abroad, depending on if they go abroad the fall or the spring semester.
Thank you. And I do think this would apply to any residential life managed housing facilities, whether they're on or off campus, but residential life managed through WashU. On this kind of housing train, we received a question from a parent or family member about how a student can find housing in the country in which they're studying abroad. What does that process look like? And does that differ depending on the academic division they're in?
It actually it differs depending on the program they're on. Many of our programs include housing options, and students are strongly encouraged to take advantage of those housing options that are provided by their program or their host institution. In the case where housing is not provided, generally either overseas programs or the sponsoring division or the host institution will provide information about how to find housing in that particular place.
Yeah, I would just echo what Amy said is true for Olin as well. One thing we really do recommend is that students talk to our global ambassadors as well, and students who have previously been abroad, because there will be resources that we can share, especially if housing is not included or available through the program. We will share resources, but hearing from students, past students, where they found housing, what tips they have for other students is a really great way for students to figure out housing if in the rare occasion housing is not included.
Great, thank you. And then we also received a question about who the students would be living with, host families or local students. I'm guessing kind of same answer. That depends on the program. They probably will want to dive into more specifics of the program. And then a question about whether they heard that the WashU tuition costs apply to a semester study abroad and potentially some summer, depending on the program. Do WashU housing fees also follow the student? And I'm guessing that depends on situation. Amy?
No, housing fees don't, I don't believe, for any of us. But if housing, room and board is included in a student's financial aid package, that would be credited towards their study abroad.
Great, thank you. Okay, then we received a question from a parent or family member wondering if who is like, oh, the WashU contact, does a WashU contact exist if a student has some type of like medical or legal or any other type of issue or situation arise when they are abroad? What can that student do?
There are so many contacts. Obviously the student's primary point person is likely to be the study abroad advisor with whom they had been working, or the head of the office through which they're studying abroad. But in addition to us, there could be local staff abroad on the program that would be there in real time, able to provide support. And the university also has a global travel safety manager who is amazing at finding resources and providing information for students with any sort of acute need. So there are multiple layers in most cases, at minimum 2, often 3 or more, that will support a student in case anything goes badly.
Our students are signing up for we'll just call it a tracking system. And if anything happens in that area, we are notified. And then the person that Amy mentioned, our global safety manager, will reach out to the students, and often we will as well, and just check in on them and make sure they're okay if we've heard something's going on in a certain area in the world.
And
so as Amy said, many layers of protection and wrapped in cotton.
Yeah, in addition to that, we all undergraduate students are required to have international health insurance. That's through the university, and that coverage is excellent, zero deductible, generally very inexpensive to the student directly, and their app and website are actually really easy to use to find a doctor or local care wherever they are. So I've often directed students there to find their nearest like provider. And then, yeah, I think many of our programs also have like a local staff person that students can reach out to for sort of more nuanced information or help. But yeah, our health insurance, I'm talking to like 20-year-olds about health insurance, and most of the time they don't care, but I know that the parents care and I care, and it's a really, really wonderful resource that the students all have.
Great, thank you all. Okay, so I know you all spoke to the flexibility and demonstrated it tonight about how while you all have different programs or in different academic divisions, there's flexibility and you all like work together. There's some cohesion there. So if a student is in two different academic divisions, like major one, minor in another, it sounds like they're able to study abroad through kind of whichever one of those they choose. If a student, can a student participate in a study abroad program through an academic division that they are not a student in?
In the summer, the answer is often yes, maybe not across the board. It will depend on whether there are any specific expectations for preparation that accompany the program. But I think that, again, there's more flexibility in the summer than there is during the semester for students to take something just for fun because they're interested, because they think it looks really cool.
There's a great resource on the global website in the program search feature, and you can it's very robust, but you can search by academic program, and each one of those programs has a profile page that tells you what the requirements are about if you have to be a specific major or minor to participate. So that's a really nice place to start digging into those details because each program has that outlined on that website.
We did receive a question about pre-med students specifically, so kind of piggybacking on that statement. Can you speak to how a pre-med student might fit a semester abroad into their academic schedule or where they should go to talk about that more specific to them?
Yeah, of course, I can speak to that. Obviously, in arts and sciences, we have many, many pre-health students, and I do regularly have conversations with them about how to incorporate study abroad. From what I have seen, there are a number of different ways they can do it. One way that I have seen a number of students exercise is to take one of their big year-long STEM courses and move it to a summer, which can help clear space in a semester later on, in order to make it easier to accommodate study abroad. I also regularly see students who keep with the regular STEM sequence, but maybe choose to take a gap year or two before going to med school, which might allow them to carve out, again, a time when they don't have to focus specifically on those STEM courses and can build some flexibility for themselves. The third thing I've seen a lot of students do is choose a summer. Again, that doesn't require the moving or rearrangement or disruption of any of the core STEM courses, but still allows them the opportunity to have a really robust summer experience that can be very valuable. So any combination of those things is pretty typical amongst our students. We occasionally see students who, through a creative amount of overloading, will not move any sequences, but still find ways to study abroad. And we're certainly open to talking with them about how that might look.
Thank you. Okay, we received a few different questions about like acceptance rate, how competitive are all of these programs? So can each of you kind of speak to that?
Yeah, I can start. So in the business school, we have a different different range of programs. So some of our programs are exchanges. Exchange programs tend to have fewer spots available than some of our direct enroll or program provider programs, which tend to go up to 15 to 20 spots. Our exchange programs might only have 3 to 5 spots. So it just really depends on the program. However, we make it clear that any student who meets the eligibility requirements to apply for and go on one of our business programs will be accepted. They just might not be accepted into their first choice, depending on how many students are applying to each of the programs and depending on how many spots available. So what we do is we accept students in rounds. We have students apply for their first choice program. We then go through and review all of the applications and place students into programs. At which point then any student that we weren't able to place, we will go back to and say, we still have spots on these other wonderful programs. Are you interested in going on one of those? And then at that point, we would reevaluate them for that. So I would say technically we have 100% rate of acceptance. It just might not be your first choice program.
Well, for engineering, students apply to one program, and as long as students have met the requirements and also meet the requirements and complete the applications for the provider abroad, usually there is no issue. Study abroad is increasingly popular, and we do have a few programs that have reached capacity for spring. That really hasn't happened before, so we were able to. It was a very small number of students, like maybe less than 10 students, but we were able to work with most of them and give them the option of another location if they were able to act quickly. I don't know, Amy, if we think that might happen again.
Well, I think we can be assured that that's going to happen again. So we tend to be very proactive in our advising and letting students know where we anticipate that there could be capacity problems with the program. In that case, we encourage students to identify a second choice that would be academically suitable, that they would be happy to attend if for whatever reason they aren't admitted to their first choice program. So I think in arts and sciences, we see the full spectrum. We see programs that are tiny, tiny, tiny and very selective, all the way to programs where we can be 99.5% sure that if a student meets eligibility requirements and meets the program deadlines, that they'll be admitted. So again, for us, it's a question of being very proactive in advising, being very responsive if a student isn't admitted to their first choice program, and being proactive in identifying what a backup plan would be if one were necessary.
Yeah, and in the Sandfox School, it differs between our semester and our summer program. So our summer program does have a cap on the number of students we're able to accept. We have rolling admissions, so the application opens at the start of the fall, and then the deadline is February 1st. So we start accepting students as soon as they finish their application. So if a student waits too long, there is potential that the program could be full and there won't be enough spots left. So we communicate that in our website and in our communications with students. That we send out by email. And then in our semester programs, we have not yet found the limit. So we had our largest class ever is actually over in Florence right now. We had to do a lot of adjusting to accommodate a huge class of architecture students in particular. But all the students met the prerequisites and met the requirements, and in review with our faculty and our directors, we were determined to make sure that the students that qualified had that opportunity. So yeah, we are all well aware that study abroad is remaining quite popular, and we're going to have to look at a variety of ways to accommodate students or give them their second choice and make sure that that opportunity still stays available to them.
Great, thank you all. Okay, then we received a few questions about visa process and specific visa process changes. So do y'all have kind of like a general answer to how long does the visa process typically take, and like when should a student start that process?
It's extremely variable, depending on location, and it seems to change a little bit every year. But I think in terms of when the student should start that process, what I would say is that they shouldn't do anything until they've been admitted to their program and they've gotten information directly from the program or from their advisor about what the process is that they need to follow. The most important thing for all of our students is that at the time they apply, preferably or very soon thereafter, they make sure that their passport is valid and that they can find it. And that it's going to remain valid for at least 6 months beyond the anticipated end date of their program. Because I cannot tell you how many moments of panic I have witnessed when a student couldn't find their passport or it got packed up in storage when they needed it for something. I mean, knowing that your passport is valid and where you can put your hands on it is probably key to success in this process, along with following guidance once it's given to you and acting quickly.
I will like second and third that. Yes, make sure the passport is available, you know where it's at, and that it will not expire until 6 months after your trip.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one last question for the evening. So panelists, thank you again for all the information and the answers you provided tonight. Last question might be a tough one, but what is one key takeaway, if you can pick just one, that you want to leave the parents and family members and potentially students on this webinar with when they're kind of thinking about deciding to apply or actively applying or preparing to leave to study abroad?
I think my advice is to just apply. I know that sounds like very silly, but even that can sometimes take a lot of courage. Applying to a program doesn't actually lock you into anything. You have a minute to decide and think about it. But even taking that first step, like talking to an advisor, coming to an info session, don't like take study abroad off of your plate just because you're a little scared or you don't know how all the details are going to work. We have a huge team of people here that will help you with all those details. That will help you figure out the right path. So just keep that door open for yourself and sort of take a few steps toward it. We're here to help you through the rest of the process.
Yeah, I echo what Courtney said. Apply, come and talk to us. But I would say my piece of advice for those of you who maybe are not sold on an abroad experience for your student, is to really think about it in a practical sense. Since I work for the business school, you know, one thing that we like to tell students is this is a great opportunity for you to expand your network. You never know who you're going to be in a group assignment with from anywhere in the world and where they might end up in the future. Maybe they end up working at a company that you or your student really wants to work for, and you already have that connection because you were together in Copenhagen. It's just a great opportunity to really expand that network, to continue to build out you know, your global leadership experience as well. And it just gives you these great little tidbits that you can then build off of when you are looking for your job in the future. I would also say one piece of advice is to really remain flexible. There are a lot of unknowns when it comes to study abroad. We can only do so much. We are not in charge of what other institutions, what their policies are. We are not in charge of what courses they're going to have on offer. So it is really, really important that everybody remain flexible and patient as we work through the process of getting the students abroad and having them have their experience abroad. We are here to help. we're here to help them have an amazing experience, but it is something that there are a lot of unknowns for us too as we're working with students. So flexibility is key.
Well, since Sarah pretty much stole mine, the last part, the flexibility part, I would say also for the parents. So things at the beginning could be a little rocky, not because the student wasn't excited to go to that place or that their classes aren't right, but it's just like when they first went to college and you got the call where they were upset about something, and then, having had this happen to me, they were upset about something, and then you stewed about it and you worried about it. And then 2 days later, you talked to them and said, so what happened when they served you that terrible meal or you didn't get in that class? And they were like, what? What? No, everything's fine. Everything's fine. So it's a little bit amplified because they're in another country. But I have not in all these years had anyone say, I did not like the place I went and it wasn't a life-changing experience for me.
Yeah, I think I would build on what my colleagues have said and say it's really important both for students and families to keep in perspective that study abroad is not simply the highlights reel. I mean, there is so much that happens, good, bad, indifferent, challenging, whatever, that all contributes to the experience. And some of it may not be a whole lot of fun to live through, but then that is going to be counterbalanced and coupled with those moments of absolute delight when you realize that you told a joke in a foreign language and people laughed. They understood what you were joking about. Or you were able to navigate a difficult travel situation without breaking down and calling home. Or you discovered this absolutely amazing off the beaten path thing that you might not have found if you had kept to your own comfort zone. So there is joy, but there is also discomfort in this experience. And it's really important to recognize that it wouldn't be the growth experience that it is if you didn't have both.
Panelists, thank you again. Families, we hope you learned very valuable information tonight. We know we did not get to every single one of your questions, so if that was not able to be answered tonight during the presentation, please make sure to email transitions@woostel.edu or families@woostel.edu, and I'll make sure to get your question to the right place. As a reminder, this webinar recording will be shared to our families.washu.edu website by next week. And then soon we will also have the details for our upcoming spring 2025 family webinar series. So thank you all again. I hope you have a good night and goodbye. Thank you.